should let me love you forever, forever. I wanna love you. Will you let me love you forever, forever and a day, 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 day.
Hey guys, welcome to the Melanated Way. I'm your host, Linda Antwi. We have an exciting interview for you coming up today. We are welcoming Michael Jessen from 90 Day Fiance. So let's go ahead and say hi, Michael.
Hello. Hi, Linda. Thank you very much for having me. It's wonderful to see you on this Sunday morning.
Absolutely. I had all the questions, and I know that you and I tried to arrange this before, but I really do believe in timing. And one of the things, and I think I've shared this with you, is I think that there are a lot of misconceptions about you. And I think that you started the show with some misconceptions, and now that the show has ended, there are other misconceptions. So I thought it was important to really just talk about that a little bit, talk about your journey, and just talk about your overall experience on the show, because, we see a glimpse of what is someone's actual true life. And I think oftentimes, especially in reality TV, we forget that they have a whole life, they're a whole person, and it's not just what you see on TV. So I kind of wanted to just jump right in. My first question to you was, how do you feel your life has changed since appearing on 90 Day Fiance?
Oh my God, where do I start? I think anything that is sort of has already been out there one way or another between what the things that Juliana has posted or I have posted in terms of any real updates about myself and her, our relationship. Let me just say, I'm going to be a little bit glib, but it's a shit show, and it's nobody. I point no fingers. I don't point a finger at Juliana. It's her fault. Blah blah. It has been something that's hard to describe and also hard to understand what part of where, let's say, I am now with my life is a result of being on TV or just a result of circumstances and these relationships. So I will say this. Yeah, a lot has happened and a lot has changed beyond any kind of anything I would have ever imagined or expected. And unfortunately for the not so great,
Yeah.
to put it mildly.
Now, when your season started, I'm going to take it back to your season. When your season started, I think that there was a lot of misconceptions about who you were as a person and how you met Juliana.
Yeah.
Can you tell our viewers how you came about being on 90 Day Fiance?
I can. And okay, so I'll try. And by the way, please, cut me off if I start getting wordy, because I tend to make short stories very long. So
don't worry, my editor says the same thing. He's like, can you cut that down? Can you say in 500 words what you're saying in 2000? Like, it's too much. So I understand.
let me try to be as to the point as possible. It was pretty simple, actually. First of all, I didn't know the show, had never been on it, or sorry, had never really watched it, but I had heard of it. And so the immigration lawyer that we were working with for Juliana's K-1 visa, she was contacted by a producer from 90 Day Fiance, from Sharp Entertainment. And really, I guess they canvass, of course, looking for, they're not just taking in applications, but they're canvassing, looking for good stories. So the lawyer we were working with contacted me and said, listen, this might make sense for you guys. I don't know the show. I don't know these people, but they were asking if I had any interesting cases I was working on. And of course, I didn't give them your information, but I can put you in touch if you want, right? And at the time, this is already roughly almost like 2 years into trying to get the K1 visa for Juliana. And we had already been denied two just um, visitor visas basically for the US. And there's a lot of reasons why. Juliana has, since 18 or 19, been a international and traveling model. She has passport stamps from all over the world. Um, and again, think about the political time of this. We're talking about 2018 going into 19, even 2017. Immigration policies were tightening up, blah, blah, blah. So this came up, and I just sort of felt, hey, how could you get denied a visa for the USA if you have like a signed contract from a major production company for a major television show in the US, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what really was the start of the logic of it all.
Okay.
Okay. One thing led to another, and then suddenly we're on the show.
So you're on the show, and obviously there was a bit of an age difference.
Yes.
And you were in a unique situation where it's almost like you had to win the viewers over. Did you feel that? Because at that time, there were a lot of misconceptions about what your relationship was about.
So first of all, I never felt like I had to, win anybody over. So
Okay.
and I might have kind of a personality that is just go for it, damn the torpedoes sort of thing. So I wasn't really thinking about it like that. This wasn't vanity at all.
Mm-hmm.
It really wasn't. I mean, certainly didn't want to look like a complete jerk. And as we were filming, and as we were working with the production crew, and I could get a sense of what was going on, and I certainly didn't want to look like a complete, jerk or asshole or something. Sorry, I don't know if that's
No, it's fine.
okay. But it really wasn't so much in mind about how we might come off. I felt we had a really wonderful and beautiful love story to present, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think we came from what I can gather. I think we came about on the franchise at sort of a turning point, and I think it was, from what I know, and this is more people telling me, because I'm not a student of the show. I did end up, after we signed, watching I started following it a little more. I think we're at a time where it went from nice love stories to just
A shit show. I am a master of 90 Day Fiance. I think I have a PhD in 90 Day Fiance, and I will say that your season is probably definitely a turning point in where we saw real love stories,
Yeah.
and from that a cult like following.
Yeah.
And I think that what the viewers are saying right now is that it seems a little bit more casted. It seems a little bit more clout chasing and such. And a lot of people want to go back to the days where it was about the love story. What I thought was interesting about your season, and you and Juliana specifically, is that you were, and I know you said that you weren't looking to win over people, but your family dynamic and the love that was seen across the world really stood out, from your relationship with Juliana, with your kids, with your ex, all of that. And people started to say, hey, you know what? I like this family. And by the end of the season, you guys were fan favorites. So,
Yeah.
If you could do anything differently, Michael, what would you do?
I'll be completely open, and it's only from our particular experience, or my particular experience, and especially thinking about Max and Cece.
Mm-hmm.
I would have never done the show.
Really?
Yeah. Well, look what happened, and it's not, again, I don't, it is what it is. Look,
Yeah.
life is what it's like. And Yeah, without question. I mean, the outcome at the moment, I could be wrong. I mean, maybe 2 months from now we're talking, and I don't know, found the love of my life, and the kids are just doing perfectly well, resolved. Their mother is everything. But I don't point a finger at the show itself.
Hmm.
But it definitely, in my opinion, didn't touch off, let's say, a series of events that worked out really well for everybody. And
Hmm.
I'm including Juliana in that.
Hmm.
You know, it's not something. Boy, it's the show's fault. It was doing reality TV is the fault. It's a lot of things. It had a lot. Doing it um, certainly. I wouldn't do it. I would have kept a private life, and we may still have be in like the same situation that we are now, meaning all of us, Juliana, the kids,
Hmm.
ex-wife Sarah, whatever. I don't. There's no way to know that, but
Right.
there's the show. Being on the show and being on reality TV did nothing to help it.
Now, this is going to be a a little bit of a touchy subject, perhaps, and feel free to not answer. But uh, viewers take us back to your wedding day, and they want to know why, even though you've had this co-parenting relationship with your ex, why would you have your ex marry you into your new wife at that
Well,
time?
okay, this wasn't. Let me see. This wasn't on the list.
It wasn't. So feel free to
I,
not answer.
that's okay. I don't mind. I'm teasing with you because I know how this. I know how
It
this.
was an outline, Michael. It was a general outline.
I don't mind. I know how this stuff works, and I'm okay to answer that. Um, I mean, sometimes I guess let me step back. I'm gonna answer it a little bit more broadly because obviously at the time, not it wasn't just the commentary we got on the TV show, or from the show.
Hmm.
Because remember, there's a lag of what people see
Yeah,
and when it's actually aired, right?
yeah. Almost a year. Yeah.
Yeah, and so um, it was a much different time. I'm not defending it, and it's another thing that I wouldn't do that now, knowing what I know now.
Okay.
Um, I can't answer the question of why would you do that. Uh, I wouldn't do it again, and I've learned a lot.
Okay.
And
Fair.
I'm trying to be very fair. It's and Sarah, even Sarah's soon-to-be ex-husband Sean, they're going through a divorce also. Again, I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm not saying, oh well, screw them. I had the right idea and everything was okay, and it was their fault. At the time, you know, things were much different and things were much better.
Okay.
And the children's mother, my ex-wife Sarah, and I had a much stronger and better relationship. It didn't work out. It's one of many things that through all of this turned out to be a disaster. Poor choice, poor judgment in retrospect.
So let's talk about the breakup a little bit. How are you healing from the breakup? And do you feel like your breakup is a result of, pandemic living?
So, um, in a way, the breakup, I'd say the breakup really that occurred early October of last year. That's when it really became obvious that Julianne and I, in some way, I mean, it was clear like it was a split. She left for Europe under the guise of doing modeling work. That was very early September. We weren't split up. We weren't separating. Things weren't going so well for her here in America, the U.S., and uh,
For her modeling.
for her modeling career.
Yeah.
Sorry, for
Mhm.
modeling. And pandemic. absolutely, like so many other people, it just completely devastated, her line of work. Going into pandemic, she actually had signed with one of the top agencies in New York City, one of the most exclusive, called the Society. They represent like Kylie Jenner and Minnie Harlow and Mila Jovovich, so many others, but they're also they were small and compact, 20, 30, 40 models maybe. But there was the lead recruiter saw her on the show, and this was during the time that our season was still live, was still active, or shortly after. But he saw something, and credit to Juliana. She, I'm not going to poo-poo her at all. She was legitimately a working and earning model when we were together. We went to the offices in New York City, sat down. There was a table of people, including the makeup artists and the fashion people, blah blah blah. It was a kind of agency that tries to really develop the talent, if you will. And so that was February of 2020. So it was only a couple weeks later that pandemic lockdown, right? The world changed. Everything was turned upside down. And of course, like everything else, there was no activity. And the modeling world obviously was completely shut down, especially New York City. But as we came out of pandemic, let's say late 2021, fast forward, and those opportunities weren't really there for anymore. The people, her champions, or the team, if you will, and even the guy the wonderful man that brought her into the agency wasn't even with that agency anymore. Like, they were barely surviving, and then suddenly she signed with another agency, but suddenly things had changed so much. It wasn't that she went stale or there was anything wrong with her, but pandemic, man, I don't know what to say. So that sucked. That was really enormously heartbreaking. It feels like she was on the cusp of something that would have been the big breakthrough, beyond being on a reality show. It wasn't going to be about Juliana from 90 Day Fiance. It was you have this platform now. We're actually going to build you from that, but not that you're somebody from that world.
Yeah.
Life, you never know.
So you were saying then she went to Europe to do her modeling, and that's how you broke up?
Yeah, so she was, to her credit, I really don't have much. I'm not that kind of person that has much to say negative about anybody. I have to be realistic about relationships and how the decisions people make that affect me, right? By the time she left, and now I can say this because we are officially divorced. We got divorced literally. I don't know when we're going to air this show, but it was May 19th. So we're talking, and this was 3 days ago. So it's done. We have no connection whatsoever at all. The last couple months, and I would say there's so much I could say in my insight, and people that came into our lives, people that were influencing her, and so many things that were going on. She's what I call a busybody in a good way, and she's always had to struggle and scrape by, and she's a survivor. And looking back, the worst thing that could have ever happened is something like pandemic. For so many people, but I speak for literally hundreds of millions of people, if not obviously billions of people around the world. This isn't a unique story to what we went through. It's just one more story of how being in that environment really fucked up people's
Yeah.
lives, right?
Yeah.
So it just she did resign with another agency in New York. Work wasn't really coming. It was a trickle. Part of it was there wasn't really much work in New York anyway. It was still coming back. And New York at the time was still basically shut down, but she was anxious. She was antsy. She's, a young woman used to globetrotting and partying and being with friends and all that stuff. And being cooped up in Coscob, Connecticut, with husband's ex-wife and husband's ex-wife's husband and things that come along with that. I think I'd like to just, if it's for my own sake, my own sanity, I'd like to just think we all went a little crazy,
Absolutely.
The worst that could have happened. And some of this I only see now in retrospect. There were some of the signs and the flags that I wasn't paying attention to or didn't recognize, but it's obvious now. Part of it, she was escaping an affair. That's something that has come out since then, and there was evidence. There was definitely signs at the time, but I personally chose to ignore it because it didn't seem believable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even like all of us, I had my own struggles with what was happening in pandemic and trying to sort out the future of where the hell you're going with all this,
Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen. And business was a struggle, and, taking care of an entire household here. And, so she left under the premise of, I'm going to go to Europe for 2 or 3 months. I have opportunities. She was already established there, so I had no reason to doubt that. She already had agency there. That's before she came to America. I was spending a lot of time with her in Milan and London, and so there was no reason to doubt that. It wasn't a stab in the dark. She was established here. She had clients, or established in Europe. She had clients. So, okay, cool. It wasn't under the premise of, hey, we're splitting up and nice knowing you,
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry to just. It's the pandemic really changed lives, and sounds like your life was one of them as well. Do you want to address the pandemic rumors about your household?
Well, it depends on what rumors you're talking about.
The rumors on social media that she was basically supporting the whole house.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, by the way, your questions are different than what
we're getting there.
you gave me. But I want you to see, Linda, that
I know, but I also want you to see where it says outline of questions.
I don't mind at all. I have no problem trying to answer anything, and I'll say what I want to say. But actually, I do appreciate that these are subjects we can talk about because well, one of the things that you put on outline of questions, this kind of hits to it. So thank you. And I do want to clear something up for my own reputation at the moment, because
it's important.
now Juliana and I, clean break. I owe her nothing, no alimony, no assets. Likewise, and there's reasons. I mean, when you're in her position, there, in the divorce law in the U.S. or Connecticut, she wasn't going after anything. She wanted to get out of it. She's in Europe. She's a survivor. She's a move oner. So this was actually, her offer was just, let's split ways. Cool. I mean, even the divorce lawyer I worked with was like, look, even under the circumstances, maybe, this could have been more more of a haggle.
Mhm.
And honestly, who would have won would be the divorce lawyers, right?
Mhm.
But given that she left, she got pregnant, there was infidelity, adultery, not just in Europe, but here, blah, blah, blah. So, there wasn't like a lot of leg to stand on. That said, one of the main things that, and this is something, I get people texting or asking like, oh, just sign off, let the poor girl go. She's got a baby. First of all, this, some people don't realize like, well, this was my wife. I still have feelings too. I'm not trying to hold on to it. I'm not trying to, but suddenly, look, I have shit I have to deal with emotionally. I understand she's gone. I understand she moved on. All right, cool. And then it becomes a business transaction, and you have to be intelligent and clear minded enough to handle that the right way. One thing that we did make sure was, and this was, I wanted to make sure this was in there, was a non-disparagement clause, meaning she and I would not do anything that was, let's say anything disparaging. I will say fact. I will say truth, and I've always done that all along. Anything I posted, I don't have anything. Honestly, I'm not even a mudslinging sort of person, you
Mhm.
know. So that said, you will notice, and I think this is really important for people to see and understand. I didn't press Juliana to say, is she, I wanted to, but it wasn't worth haggling over, which was a statement of apology or a statement of retraction. There was a lot of damage done for the two things. She was a maid, that she supported the whole family during pandemic. Not true, and this is fact. And if I have to be called to fact, I'll be called to fact. I could show you, I don't want to be petty, I don't need to show our text message threads or tax returns, but it
Right.
wasn't that way. And I can tell you, and I have enough compassion for her, and I know her well enough. Like, she had people in her ear. I can tell you the people who were telling her to say this. I can even tell you by the language that was written in the thing that she posted when I posted my heartfelt, I'm sorry this didn't work out. And I know who did this, and I'm not saying it didn't come from her or she didn't agree with it, but they that post has been pulled down. You'll notice, rightfully so, because that was part of our agreement, non-disparaging, And so I think, unfortunately, I'm suffering from a lot of reputational damage, and having come from, even before the show, of a certain level of profile in my business of the wine world.
Yeah.
It's done enormous damage. Enormous damage. This whole process. I mean, it's just it's it's crushed me, and that was important that get retracted at least. And I just hope people, even beyond like this idea of 90 Day Fiance fans, I need to be in a position where if people Google my name, it's not, oh hey, Michael Jessen, the bum who's
Right.
young Brazilian wife who left him because he was such a turd, and because she was the maid, and because she supported the family. Like, that's all, unfortunately, it's bullshit. Sorry. That's not,
Mhm.
I'm not disparaging when I say this, and I would be happy to challenge that in court if it won't happen. But all of that stuff,
Yeah.
really reckless and really malicious to put that out there.
Mhm.
And it's done a lot of damage. It may not seem like it, but
Which is what we were saying at the top of our discussion here was, there's a lot of misconceptions. And what people only see is a snippet, right? So you see a little snippet of something and then you run with that, not realizing that this person has a whole life, and their whole life is based on the years that they've put into their reputation for their business, their brand, whoever they are. And I think that's the part that I definitely thought was important to address. So thank you for addressing it. Michael, how are you healing from the breakup?
Well, actually, and I'm glad we decided to do this interview at least a few days after the actual final official divorce.
Hmm.
Because, like I told you, I think maybe it'd need a few days just process. Signing off and having the actual divorce behind me now, personally, is it's helped a lot. It wasn't. I didn't want to get divorced. It wasn't. I didn't. I mean, even up until late November, um, I knew Juliana was had some kind of relationship or relationships in Europe. Even at this time, I knew, there were things hanky panky that had gone on with her and Sean here at the house. I just remember one morning. I mean, it was miserable. I mean, I was head over heels in love with this woman, and that's why I did everything I did uh, all the time. We were together before she got here over 2 years. It wasn't like this was just we met and, oh, hey, coming to America. It took a long time, and it was a lot of work. And I traveled to see her, and she wanted me to see her. She wanted to get married. Blah blah blah. Um, so it was, third week in November, whatever, and I sent a text like, look, I don't want to get divorced. Give me a chance. You know, I can understand if you don't feel this is working or it's the right thing for you, but I deserve at least come back for 3 months, 6 months. After that, let's see what happens. And if it's just you don't change, that's cool. But this is a marriage, you know, and to just this was before. So, well, let me tell the story. And then it erupted into no, I'm not coming back, and blah blah blah, and I'm here. And at this point there was no knowledge or mention of her boyfriend or being pregnant at all. It kind of got shut down. She came at me, just no, I'm never coming back. This is over. Get over it. Blah blah blah. Right. It was the next morning. Wake up and there's a post by some guy named Ben, and it's him hugging Juliana and saying, "Wow, I'm so excited that I got somebody pregnant," or whatever it is. That Juliana, my girlfriend. And then the next day was this.
That's how you found out?
That's how I found out. So it's twofold at the same time, which is, this her boyfriend, and then that she's pregnant. That's how I found out.
So, Michael, you seem very, and I guess it comes with, I don't know, you seem very calm about this. Like, I've been cheated on in the past, and I know that I probably didn't handle it well. And so there was, you seem very even keeled. And
Well,
that's why I was asking about how are you healing from the breakup, because
okay. First of all, I'm sorry for what you went through, and believe me, what you're seeing and hearing from me is not like, boy, this was just easy and I took it in stride. It's been what we're late May now. So she left. She flew September 2. Again, we weren't necessary. It wasn't under the premise that we were separating or she was going to come back. I paid for all that too, by the way, for what it's worth. I mean, so there's where there's more, let's say, untruths. I was still supporting her when she was in Europe until I knew she was with another guy. Of course, I'm not going to float her if some other guy's with her. Let's just say, I think at this point, and especially now that we're signed off on the divorce, I've cried my tears. Believe me, it has not been easy one bit. But if you don't commit to moving forward, even if it like it's still in my head every time I close my eyes because I'm here in my house where so many bad things ended up happening. Like this home haunts me, and I'm selling it. and I close my eyes or I look around and I'm like, that's where Juliana and Sean got it on, for example, or this is where so and so went nuts, or this. I think I've had quite a lot of time where going through it, it was processing. Don't get me wrong, it's awful. I mean, but I have Max and Cece, and even through this whole time, like, actually, it's a blessing. This has been helpful to, help write it through. And actually, now that the divorce is actually over, signed off, that's been a good relief, And
Yeah.
let me say, like, the images of, let's say, like Sean and Juliana together here, Sarah's ex or Sarah's husband, whatever. Even now, a few days later, I close my eyes and it's a little foggier and fuzzier. And I know once I move, once I get out
Will
of
be behind you
I
100%.
think so, so that's the healing maybe. I'm not healed, but I can only also have to take life for what it is now. It's been me and the kids, me, Max, and Cece, the three of us, basically since August of last year, but especially since Juliana flew to Europe early September. And finally getting to a point where I can move on. This house, we have a big house. We don't need it. Look, I'm not going to deny it's out there already. Financial issues, like business stuff took a huge hit through pandemic and before pandemic. That's a whole another issue, a whole other thing. But it's okay. Like I'm not I'm not destitute at all. I'm okay. It's just move on with life. So that's how I'm feeling, is just move on, see what happens. Try not to think about it as much.
Now we see a drum set behind you. I've seen you on social media playing a guitar. Has music played an important role in your life, and has it helped with the healing process?
I'm glad we're back. I'm glad we're back on script.
For now.
Well, that's all right, Linda. I appreciate it because I don't mind speaking openly, and I really don't. I won't say anything I don't want to say. Yes, without question. I mean, for a lot of people, music is incredibly important. But I mean, it's not just important for me this moment with what's happening. It was important when I was young. It was important as I've never. I've always played. I just love it. It's something I connect with.
Did you take lessons, or are you self-taught?
I would say I'm self-taught. I took some study when I was in college because I went to Indiana University, which has, unbeknownst to like most people, has a phenomenal music school. I mean, we're like right behind Juilliard in some programs, and but I wasn't a music major or anything. I took some classes and some stuff, but otherwise, yeah, it's to get to where it is now for me at this moment. In terms of like the idea of healing, and I'm playing a lot more music, and it's been wonderful. It's been cathartic, and I decided I'd post just these little guitar bits. I'm not trying to pretend that I'm Mr. World's Greatest Guitarist or anything, but this is all stuff. It's from the heart. I have fun with it, and I've performed live many times. I've recorded with several bands and other projects. So I'm not like, I don't have any fear of putting myself out there as some kind of musician. But I've picked it up much more within the last 5, 6 months, 8 months, whatever it is, since Juliana left. It's really cathartic. It is an outlet, and I think what I'm posting it's really from the heart. None of this is like written music or scripted, or most of it's not even what I'd call practiced. I just kind of pick up the guitar. I turn the camera on, and I just play something. It really comes out, and
Yeah.
so I like that because I feel it doesn't matter critique as far as technique or chord changes or missing a note or whatever, I don't care. I mean, I'm playing something that's really coming from me, and I love that. I wouldn't be posting this stuff if it weren't for the fact that like I'm already out there, you
Yeah.
know. So again, it's not vanity. It's not like, hey, look at me, I'm trying to be Mr. you know kick-ass guitar player. It's kind of like I don't mind sharing because I'm already out there and I have nothing to lose. I don't mind sharing this part of me because you know what? Also, I guess going back to what you're saying as far as like misconceptions or perceptions, I don't know. That wasn't really much on the show, if you will. Uh, and I would prefer that if people are going to have any interest in my story and what is happening, it's a little more real for who I really am.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. 100%. So, that being said, is there something that you would like the viewers to know about you that they don't know?
Oh boy. I mean, gosh, beyond what we already sort of covered. I don't know. Let me put it this way. Let me turn it around. I don't. I'm not living life. Let's put it this way. I'm not living my life for the viewers, if you will. And I
Mhm.
think what I mean is like, I guess people are gonna think about you, have perceptions of you, feel about you whatever way they are. Whether you're on TV or not. You know.
Mhm.
Um, so I will say, especially at this point, and especially what being having a life like this be so exposed and so public, and then unfortunately with the kind of absolute mega epic faceplant I've taken in life through all this, um, you know, I don't. I've never done it for the vanity. I'm not doing it for the quote unquote the viewers. What I will say, I do extremely appreciate, at least on the side of positivity, compassion, and support. I get a lot of wonderful messages, comments, way more than anything negative at this point, and I appreciate that. It makes it. I'm glad that I've, if anything else, I'm worked into somehow backed myself into some position that uh, I can discover more actual, real, good humanity out there than I would
Mhm.
have otherwise known.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to change anybody else's mind. Take me for what it is. Believe what's on TV. Don't believe it. See what I post. Don't see what I post. I don't know. If you start really worrying too much about that stuff, you're
You can go crazy.
going to go even more nuts than you already are.
100%. Michael, I want to address your last post from 4 days ago.
Yeah.
It reads, for those that haven't seen it, tomorrow, two people will be celebrating that I'm finally out of their life for good. Dot, dot, dot. And they will move on. Dot, dot, dot. And so will I. Dot, dot, dot. Myself. I will not necessarily be celebrating, but I will continue to live life with many new lessons learned and much more wisdom gained. Dot, dot, dot. Sometimes that is all we can expect from life. Dot, dot, dot. Sincere best wishes and nothing but hopes of happiness for JC, BH, and their child to come. With the couple of prayer emojis and a couple of heart emojis. Um, and your captions, it speaks for itself. I think it does speak for itself, and it does speak for the type of individual you are. And I wanted to tell you, in my humble opinion, as an outside person, that is just the high road. And I think that that's what people are seeing, who follow you. They follow you and they see, and I think what resonates with them is that you're real. You're real and authentic to yourself, your journey, your life. And people appreciate that, especially now with, you know, not only a show that is made up, but just all the things that happen in life that just seems surreal, right? So I think that realness and honesty and respect, and the high road just really says a lot about your character.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. And let me put it this way. I wouldn't even say, and I'm not trying to just butter it up. I'm not trying to butter it up by saying this, but I mean, to me, I wouldn't even say it's me taking the high road.
Mm.
It was honest and it was true and it was from the heart. And it was the day before we were signing off on our divorce, like literally parting ways. I don't think I will ever see Juliana again in my life, except in my memory and except in photos and all this, whatever. I will always have. There was a reason I married her. There was a reason I went through everything I did to be with her. And I know she, at the time, for where she was, thought it was the right thing to do. Things didn't work out. You know, unfortunately, not only didn't work out, but things went really, unfortunately, sideways.
Mm.
So, I mean, I needed to do something like that for myself. For going back to part of the healing, you know, I meant it, and it was part of just realizing the day before we're signing divorce papers and truly cutting ties. This is just what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
You know, parting words. It's not words I would be able to say while we were in front of a judge, like we were, and I mean it. I really do, and so I'm not. I wouldn't personally say like I'm just taking the high road for the sake of taking a high road. Look, life is life, you know, and especially, you know, they have a baby coming, and that changes everything. How can you root against that? I'm not even a root against kind of person, but I meant it, all of it. I meant it, and I didn't know what else to say. You know, part of it's my own reflection on it, and you know, I'm communicating my own kind of sadness through it. It wasn't, you know, to curry sympathy and all this stuff, but I don't know. I guess I've gotten used to just being out there. I have a lot of friends and colleagues and things that sometimes I post stuff and they're like, what are you doing? You know, I don't know. I'm going to be who I am. You know, this isn't a battle. You know, I'm not punching at Sean, Juliana, Ben, Sarah, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see that. Unfortunately, you know, there are some practical things I have to deal with. I don't wish ill to anybody. I certainly wish with what has happened, there was, you know, better respect and treatment and more gratitude. It is what it is. Maybe it's better it's happened the way it is and it happened now than, you know, way down the road or whatever. But I appreciate you bringing it up. I wouldn't want to call it high road because that makes it like
those were my words too, right? That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, it makes it sound like I crafted that to try to just be sanctimonious, and that wasn't at all the intention. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, but again, Michael, I don't think that as an outside person that, you know, doesn't have any inside knowledge, that's not how it came across to me. I think, and I will make a hypothetical. Hypothetically, if I was married to someone and they left me and I was finding out that he was having a baby with another woman, I don't think that I personally am a good enough person to say, hey, you know what? I wish you well, you know, God bless and all the things. I don't think I would be able to do that as a person. I think I would probably still be too hurt, me, myself. And so that's why when I read that, it came across to me like that's the high road. Like, you know what? Like Michelle Obama said, you know, when they go low, we go high. And that's the part that I wanted to say to you. Like that's how I interpreted it.
Let me throw this out though. And again, it's very speculative, but what if you had, let's say, 6 to 8 or 9 months to process this? Now, again, this is this is like so speculative and
Yeah.
hypothetical. But also remember, I don't, if this was the day after or the day of, this post where I was saying I don't want to get divorced, and
Yeah.
this talk about late November or whatever, give it a shot. I'm willing to forgive anything. I can understand, why you went away, and if you even have a boyfriend now, but I deserve this. We're married. We put so much into it, like respect in the little time for the marriage. You can go back to the guy or whatever. I mean, when I say guy, I knew something was going on. This was before it was who we know is her boyfriend and, pregnancy. I mean, probably I wouldn't have posted. I wouldn't have had that kind of. I don't think I would. I didn't post anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that was my reaction. But once it's passes 5-6 months and it's actual divorce proceeding, you have time to process this. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You got to also maybe think about when you have some time to process it, time to get to an even keel, who you are, sort of thing.
Yeah, Michael. Can't say that I'm that good of a person.
It's not good or bad. It's not good or bad. Linda, it's not. This isn't a good or bad discussion.
No. I'm just saying. I'm trying to I'm thinking of that hypothetical with my personal situation in the past.
Yeah.
I absolutely can forgive and I can move forward, but I don't know if I would I have. I don't know. That's good. It's good. It's a good question. I'm gonna have to think about it for more. My gut reaction is there's no way.
It goes back maybe to the way, you're talking about healing. How are you healing?
Yeah.
And I'm very much I love the Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist ways of thinking, and even Buddhism. It's not really a religion in a way. Sorry, this is a whole nother discussion.
No, go.
But you learn things, and I've studied it. I've been involved with it. Meditation and all this. But actually, it's not even unique to Buddhism. It's unique to self-help. It's unique to, psychological healing and all that. The more you can get to true acceptance and forgiveness for anything, you're helping yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can't change that stuff, and you can't change somebody. And holding anger and holding negativity and just, it's not going to ultimately be good for you. I'm not saying it's that easy. It's not like, believe me, this has been the worst. I can't tell you. So she left September 2, and things didn't really it was early October, got hints that it was pretty obvious, she was gone, and gone meaning not in our relationship. And that's when I could tell she was, at that point, involved with somebody else or other people. I'm not telling you it's easy, but remember, let's say that's 7 months, 6, 7 months, 8 months ago, whatever it is. So believe me, it takes time to process this stuff. And I'm not totally there yet, but I was in the place a few days ago to make that statement, and it was sincere.
Yeah.
But that's also part of the healing,
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you can really get to sincere feelings of acceptance and forgiveness, compassion, and just move on with your own life, otherwise the negativity, the anger, that's just going to eat away at you.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean it's all. I know I will never be fully call it over this. This has been absolutely awful, but I have no choice now.
Yeah.
What is anger going to do? What would spiteful messages on Instagram or it does nothing. It only makes it worse.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm coming
So
from.
where would you say, or where do you think you are in your healing journey? Because, one of my questions to you was going to be, are you open to finding love again?
Yeah, sure. It's a very good question. I mean, I think actually, again, going back, I'm glad we took a few days after signing the papers, because that changed a lot psychologically, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, not waiting on it, just getting it over with. Because actually, Juliana didn't quite understand this, and also I get a lot of messages from her fans, in the international community. They think that, or there's some conception of, well, Juliana wants this. You just sign the papers, everything's done. It's like, no, she files, and then the court sets a date that's like 3 or 4 months away. You have to get a lawyer, and then you have to make sure everything is, right, and some
Yeah.
negotiations and all this. And we actually had a fairly easy process with this. To Juliana's credit, she didn't want anything, no alimony, no assets, just clean break. We move on, and again, I mean, under the circumstances, if she was really fighting for, what I want to say is, to her, she was very fair. She just wants to move on with life, and she, she wasn't trying to get something out of me after the fact or anything, and I really respect and appreciate her for that. I knew what's weird. Part of the show, there was this whole thing about the prenup. Okay, and I will say that was, I don't mind saying it. I don't care if Sharp gets in touch with me. I'm just saying facts. That was just made up.
Yeah. I feel like they do that a lot. We talk about that a lot on my show when we're covering 90 Day. It always makes, they always add in this prenup for the foreigner to put the underlying, narrative in it. So,
But something is drama. We didn't have, and we're getting a tangent, but it's interesting to talk about, because this is something that, I guess, it still surprises me how much people like remember our story, or remember of our story, or the poignant parts. And I feel like this is something that happened a few years ago. Like, I'm surprised that people even know who we are. And
really?
Well, I mean, I don't. This isn't. Yeah. Yes, I am. I understand that the show has a large following and all that, but I guess
Michael, it's the number one reality show on TV.
I feel like I should be more well compensated. I'm not compensated at all, but I feel like if that's the case, I definitely was a sucker to get roped into it. But that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
So getting
I've
back,
heard that before, by the way, from other cast members.
This is a whole. In a way, I honestly, at this point, Sharp TLC can come at me. I mean, given what has happened in my life after the fact, and I'm agnostic about, not, I don't point fingers per se, but like, if we got into legal issues, I have plenty of lawyers, and I'm not worried about this. I think I'm out of my contract, and if I'm not, I don't care. Going back to it, yeah, the prenup stuff was a complete setup, and it was nothing. Juliana and I never, even between us, had a conversation. I didn't want it. We didn't want it, because you know what I knew? I just knew it because I knew Juliana well enough, and there's always a risk of something not working out. I knew her well enough. If she was going to leave, as she did, she would just want to leave. I gave a lot during that relationship. I helped her a lot with her family, her home, a lot, and it put me in, it was a big financial commitment, traveling to be with her, the whole visa process. I gave a lot. Somehow I knew there would be a risk. Like anything in life, there's a risk, but I wasn't pushing for any prenup. But part of me is, I'm also like, I have this romantically idealistic way of looking at the world, probably. Like, to me, that's not, if you really, this is just me, but if you're really pushing for a prenup or something, like, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't be getting married.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like, that just, for me, in the way I view it,
Yeah.
that sullies it. That makes it, I mean, marriage is already a certain form of contract.
Yep.
I would never do that, you know. Fuck it, fine. Something happens, all right. And if there's a battle in court, then let's just see what happens. I don't care. That's, you know, I don't see it. You know, legal binding, that just ruins it. It sullies it. So that whole prenup stuff was orchestrated by production, and that was all bullshit.
Yeah.
And honestly, I had a really hard time with it after the fact. That was when that episode aired, I went on live because I was very upset because Juliana, they pushed Juliana into a corner of crying over something that wasn't even anything that mattered to us. And if you go back to this episode of the prenup thing, which I still hear about to this day, which is like, oh, you shouldn't have done this or that. What people don't realize is like, it wasn't real. That was bullshit, you know? And Juliana in the episode, and she was pushed to some kind of tears. And this was the scenery, the production, and the pressure. They want drama, you know?
Yeah.
And I went on a live, and I just said, this is all fucking bullshit. Sorry. Pardon. I'm trying not to.
No, it's fine.
And I think it's out there somewhere. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I went out after that episode. I said, it's ridiculous. There's no reason my wife should have been pushed to crying, let alone it be on TV. I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody comes at me and says this, but we didn't sign up for this to be just some form of low-level entertainment for the world. You know, these are people's lives. And that sucked, you know? But the whole prenup thing was bullshit.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by that at all, Michael. I'm not surprised by that at all. Right? It's the drama. It's for the ratings. It's for the viewers. And we see a lot more of that in the more recent episodes, in the more recent seasons.
Yeah.
So I think we've all come used to it. But I'm still wondering if you're open to finding love again.
Of course I am. I believe in love.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I definitely approach things. I'm at a different stage of life now. You know, I would definitely look at things and approach things a little differently, I guess. I will say more guarded, you know, without question. I think with Juliana, it felt so real. I don't know what to say, you know, and I think in her mind, I'd like to think it felt really real, and just, you know, some things happened, some things changed. There was poor decisions made, poor judgments. I'm all for love. I believe in love. I mean, I'm an artist. I'm a musician. Not really, but you know what I'm saying? I do believe
creative type.
Yeah, but I'd be more careful and more self-protective. I am more careful and self-protective. I'm not like ready. I'm not ready to get married again right this moment, of course, you know. But I've learned a lot, like anyone should, going through this sort of stuff.
Okay. I have to ask though, is it fair for your future person, your future partner, is it fair for them to have to break down some of the walls or the quote unquote guarded Michael? Is that fair to them?
Well, so it's kind of a speculative question.
It is 100%.
I don't think, I mean, it's different. I don't think with the right people, I'm not gonna be different. I'm not gonna have that guard up. And the reason being, I don't think you can find honest or real love and connection if you just go through life with some kind of, you know, wall or hard surface.
Yeah.
I think maybe call it a few steps ahead of that person getting, you know, getting that connection. That's where it is, but it's not close-hearted or not so damaged that I could never love again, you know.
Okay, that's fair. I I think we covered this, but I do want to ask it as a direct question. What is your biggest takeaway from being on TV?
Oh well, yeah. Let me see what I wrote down on the notes. Well, you know, thank you, by the way. And it's not a, by the way, for everybody watching, this is not a script, but there were some things, here that an outline. You said it's an outline, and it was great because it helped me really think. And I will say, Linda, I needed this at this point. Like, it was extremely helpful because I just got divorced again a few days ago. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, to actually have, like, let's talk. Here's some things, topics. It was helpful to get kind of on track, and so
Yeah.
I may seem like hey, everything's cool. I mean, inside I'm still a fucking mess. Sorry, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, this is not easy, and I'm still grappling with the fact that, like, I am now a twice divorced dude. I never imagined, like, in my wildest dreams, a kid from basically, the sticks of southern Indiana, like, this is the kind of world I'd be in at the age of mid 40s or whatever. So, don't get me wrong, there's still, a lot of pain and emotions and all that stuff, but I think I'm at an age where learn better to deal with it. So going back to it, biggest lessons learned of being on TV. Oh God, I mean, I don't. It's that's a very different. It's a very general question, and it sounds hmm, okay. If I were to reduce it down, and I will absolutely put a stake in the ground. I wouldn't do it, and I wouldn't if anybody came to me for whatever reason it is, even if it's vanity, just, well, you think you want to be famous, and or you think there's some financial opportunities, or you think it's going to be helpful to get your fiance into America, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I can only speak for my own circumstances, my own footing. It's been a disaster, absolutely, and it's been a public disaster. My life could still have been a disaster on or off TV. I don't know
Yep.
that.
Yep.
It could still be, like, still a disaster.
Yep.
I guess the difference is at least far fewer people would know.
Would have their opinions in it, would see you at your lowest, darkest, hardest moments.
Or even
Um,
the falsities of it, the untruths, and the just,
all of it. Yep.
the idea. Because what happens, and, like, I'm not, I don't have, like, a huge ego with this. I consider myself a barely D-list celebrity, right? I'm not trying to pretend I'm, like, so important all this, but it is, a show people follow. And what hurts, what kind of, like, stings, because I'm a very emotional guy in a good way, and I connect with people, and I really do. That means a lot to me. But you become so two-dimensional.
Yeah.
You become something that's on TV, and you're a character, and even the life that's being portrayed, through this show, this 90 Day Fiance, what Sharp Entertainment, the production companies, but you're just a center of entertainment. You're two-dimensional. It's not really showing who you are or your real life.
Hmm.
Um, I wouldn't do it. I would only do it if it was truly under the premise that you're acting, and let's have this script, and let's do this, and we're going to pay you that, and you know whatever, and we're going to change names. I don't know. So, biggest lesson learned. I got to admit, I wish I had listened to the 9 out of 10 people that I'm on average 9 out of 10 people at least who said don't do it. And these aren't even people that were ever on TV. But they saw it, and I was just blinded. I just was so self-directed with getting Juliana here, and I didn't even know this show. I didn't even realize it was so many people watched. I just figured if we went to the consulate in Sao Paulo, the American consulate in Sao Paulo, where that's where the visas get issued, with a contract from some American show that would put it over the top, and sure, that worked. She got here. But now look,
Yeah. The rest is history. I appreciate you taking the time. And, you've been through a lot. You both have been through a lot. And separating is never easy. And separating in front of the public eye is that much harder. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me, to share your story, to share your journey. And I just wish you all the best moving forward in your healing process, loving yourself, loving on your children, and all of that. I'm wishing you all of the best.
Thank you, Linda. I think maybe the last comment I would make thinking about this is, I would want everyone to know, and I do mention this when I can. I have no self pity, and I do not feel sorry for myself. And I realize, like, basically most people in the world would absolutely trade places with me. 'Cause I'm not. I have perspective at least. I'm not sitting around feeling sorry, but you know, going through trauma, the process of healing, it's all individual, and it's interesting doing it under a public eye, and you know, um, I know it'll be okay. And Max and Cece are first and foremost, like you mentioned. They really are. I want to underline that because that didn't come up as much as I'd like it. I'm very fortunate to have my children.
They're amazing children.
Yeah, and
which is a testament to, you and parenting and raising great kids.
that's where I direct my love and attention as much as I can. And I look forward to, like I said, continuing to move on and continuing to heal. And here we are. So
Yeah.
thank you for your time, and I appreciate being able to have this interview with you.
I appreciate you 100%. It's been the goal here was to just hear and see the real Michael, and I think that has been accomplished. So I think it's great.